is Mental Health Awareness Month. And with 25% of the United States suffering with some type of mental health illness, this is a thing that we have to address. And I believe that my purpose in life is to destigmatize mental health worldwide. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Awesome.
And in doing that, that means that I talk to a lot of people, I meet a lot of people. I'm always, putting out the importance of health, which is wholeness of both mind and body. It's not just body, it's mind and body, helping people to change that narrative so they do think about, taking care of their mental health. So in the process of that, I was praying, like, God, help me. How can I attack this at a bigger, broader level? And a couple of days later, I heard industries. I'm like, industries? Okay, so the healthcare industry? No. Mental health industry? No. Like, industries. Okay. And then I get a call from a dear friend who says, hey, this guy from the trucking industry contacted me about some mental health work. And I said, yeah, no, Marla. And, I'm going to do an introduction. Do you mind? And I said, absolutely, I want that introduction. Like, my family is in the trucking business, and mental health is my passion as well as, my expertise. And I couldn't believe it. That's how I met Tim Hindes, wonderful you from Stay Metrics. And tell me what Stay Metrics does, Tim. Talk to us about that.
Well, I'll tell you a little, I'll talk about Stay Metrics, but, there's another side to that story that I want to share that.
Tell it all.
Yeah. So, for me, I never understood mental health. So I'm 57 years old. Never been to I was 56 when I went to a therapist for the first time.
Okay.
Actually didn't have a real good experience. So didn't see the value. And, but I understood that I had some reactions or triggers, and that I was made aware of. And I started to, through self-discovery, try to understand where that was coming from, and then more important, where it was coming from, but the harm that it did. And what was fascinating is I got exposed to mindfulness, and the idea behind mindfulness to where if I can be present, if I can control my breathing, there's a possibility that when I had a trigger, that maybe it wouldn't go off. So, and what were my triggers? So my triggers were when somebody told me something I didn't want to hear, backhanded sarcasm, passive aggressive behavior. And when I started to understand that and how unproductive it was from a leadership standpoint, and from running the company, I really took my self-discovery to a higher level and wanted to see if I could affect it. Anyway, had a scenario that happened on a Friday morning. My wife called me, and we were in an all-company meeting. And she left a voice, and I didn't take it because I was actually speaking to the group, and I could see that she was called a couple times. So I was a little bit concerned. So after the meeting, I called her right away, and she said, "Don't worry about it. I left you a voicemail." And I was walking back to my office, and I'm like, "We don't have voicemail. Or do we?" So I created it. Really, I panicked. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought we were always live, and do we have voicemail? And I didn't know about it. So I went on the floor, and I could see the voicemail light was on. And I don't work on the floor very often. And when I saw the voicemail light was on, I said, "What is that? And how often is that checked?" And I got stone silence. and we had just made we had just re-engineered the company a bit, and we switched some positions, and I figured, yep, this was probably somebody's responsibility last week, that it's not their responsibility this week.
Ah.
And I asked for the login for these. I was frustrated. People could probably tell I was frustrated. I got the logins. I sat down there and I went through all these, and there was over in one email box or voicemail box, there was over 100.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I went through each one of those individually, and I was boiling, and I could feel my trigger. But as I could feel my trigger, it was a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. I couldn't really slow it down, and I figured, I'm just going to go home. So
Okay.
instead of going into my partner's office and being a jerk, and I just, let me chew on this. So I said, I'm just going home. So I went home. And what I digested that over the weekend is it really wasn't a big deal. Those 100 that were in there were pretty much spammers. I did have 2 or 3 drivers that we did wrong, that hey, you know, I called 2 days ago, nobody called me back. But there was really nothing of crisis. But what appeared to me, Marla, is I was a better partner that day, and I was a better boss that day, because I just didn't overreact and did so. So my big epiphany was, holy cow! As our business focuses on how do we help companies really operate at the highest level with their talent, I thought, oh my God, mental health is really the holy grail, or the end to talent optimization. You know what I mean by that? Because I macroed it. Because if I could learn about myself and control my emotions a little bit better, I was a better teammate. I was a better partner. I was a better spouse when I came home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if my teammates could start to understand this as well?
Mm-hmm.
So the way we got to you is, I got so excited about it. I called a guy by the name of Tony Huddy that heads up executive forums in this area. Tony reads like 30 books a quarter. Every business book that's out there, he was reading it. And I said, Tony, you got to tell me who was writing the book on mental health in the workplace. And I told him my concept. He's like, oh my God, your concept, I think, is so smart. And I said, well, who's writing the book? Who's talking about it? Because it's got to be out there. And there's one guy talking about it. So he introduced me to him. I had a conversation with him. But in the meantime, I asked who are the local resources that we can start to do work with our team. And that's how we found you.
Wow. And I'm so glad you did.
Likewise.
Because that personal epiphany, I mean, it spills over into who you are, right? And what you do. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And something as simple as a phone call error could have turned into, you know, a huge negative spot with you and your employees.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But you had to have that awareness, Tim. And had you not taken that initial step of, hey, I got some stuff going on, that could have turned out all the way bad. Mm-hmm. And that's where mentoring moments comes in. And I want people to recognize that we all got stuff going on, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
And especially when we get in the workplace. And that stuff that goes on is going to spill over. Well, health, whether I got a stomach ache and I can't go to work, or I'm so stressed out that my stomach hurts and I can't go to work, mm-hmm. our health affects our work.
Absolutely.
Like if we can't get to this mental health piece, it's, you know, oh my gosh, we got to get there. So Stay Metrics does driver retention, right? Just tell me a little bit.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about Stay Metrics. And no, it doesn't do just do driver retention. Driver retention is what we're known for. Driver retention is what we're known for, or retention. Mm-hmm. We started the company almost 10 years ago on the idea of helping the trucking industry retain more of its drivers because it had such a high turnover rate. Now that led us down to a path where we've created some of the best surveys and analytics that allow a trucking company to be able to see how their drivers are actually feeling, what's causing the turnover, why they stay, why they leave, What areas in the company are hot spots? Are there specific individuals in the company that are hot spots? That has been developed. We also have a suite of products around the area of recognition and rewards, where actually somebody can put a program in place through us, and that their drivers are getting recognized and rewarded. Now, currently, we serve the transportation space, but those were our first two products, and now we're into talent optimization. So as people are thinking, as in this environment, post-pandemic, people are bringing talent back into positions. We're telling them, hey, stop the train. Don't just bring in the same folks that you had before. Let's look at those positions, what they are. Let's take a more science-based approach to it and see if we can't match people to the skills, so you can end up with somebody in the right positions. Some of the other things that we're doing now is helping carriers understand which drivers are going to be best suited for them. So instead of taking all drivers like you did before when there was such a driver shortage, now there's not a driver shortage. Yes, let's profile some folks, find out who's making who the best drivers for you. We're involved in that. And then from some very high level strategic things in terms of helping people shift their culture. As you know, from being around me for a little bit, I'm a culture freak.
Oh yeah.
Heartfelt leadership is really, really big for me. What is that, and what does that mean, and how can that affect my business, and helping people understand that. So it's been a great journey.
That's awesome, Tim. I'm going to tell you, the whole driver thing just excites me so much, because I've talked to people and they've said things like, oh, well, you got to get the right kind of guy out there on the road. And, they really don't like to be by themselves, or they like to be by themselves anyway. So just, find somebody who doesn't like to be by them, or who likes to be by themselves. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because some people just want a job.
Yeah.
Some people just want to work. And so what if you have that type of person out there on the road? How are they managing their stress? Who's helping them when it comes to a mental health check-in? I've done research and thought about, the suicide rates of truck drivers, and the isolation that some truck drivers, OTR, over the road, some of those drivers report tons of isolation, and everyone's personality or their mental space does not suit trucking, but we have lots of truck drivers out there.
Right.
So with the retention, how do you think, like, understanding the personality or the mental health of a driver?
I think that's, well, I think it affects, everything starts out with a relationship to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and understanding each other as best we can. Mm-hmm. And when you do what you describe, which we do as an industry, a lot of industries do this, not just trucking, is you put people in a bucket and you say, hey, these guys are all, you've heard the same thing I've heard. Well, they're all renegade Apaches and independent cowboys, and they like that. Well, what we know is that's not true. You have a statistic and that I've heard you share in terms of the numbers of drivers that report loneliness, and
Mm-hmm.
we see it in our data as well, right? So, but how do companies help their employees? Period. Is going to change, and actually, it's going to change because of this pandemic. This is a little bit of a silver lining. What we used to think. Well, sure, because what we used to think about is there's a stigma. So let's not even bring up mental health, and the closest we'll come to it is we'll provide a what's not EOS, it's a
EAP.
EAP, right? And that's basically, hey, I'm really in trouble, and hopefully I know the 800 number, and I'm really in trouble, and I need some help.
Right.
And then the companies feel like, well, that's what we do. But if you think about it, this is the way I would think about it as a business owner. Because if you think about it, why don't people want to help their employees get mentally healthy? One is there's a stigma behind it, and we don't talk about it. The second thing is people don't understand the business benefits that come with it. So if they just think of the personal benefits that come with it, they're like, well, that's none of my business. That's none of my concern. I'm giving them a paycheck, right? But really, the personal benefits that go with it are tremendous as well, because you're showing care and consideration. You're showing that you actually care. And what happens is then it's not game over, but it's not far from it, because the general market is just so used to treating employees and treating drivers like widgets in silo number 9, right? Employees don't feel, we lost our sense of loyalty probably 30, 40 years ago in this country. Rightfully so. But they don't feel that. So when you do what we did, and I'll either segue it or you segue it, and you start bringing in mental health education and awareness into the workplace, I'll tell you from State Metrics perspective, we've been working with you now for
6 months.
6 months, I think it's 8 months. It has been phenomenal. And I mean, work groups working better with each other, individuals being more productive. But I don't know if I can go into how I chose to bring it into our company, or we can go wherever you want.
So no, I want to know how you chose this particular type of professional development for your company, and then the benefits of it, because you just said people are looking at, oh, well, that's not my business. Here's your EAP program, whatever. Sure. But I the research is out there. It's health. So even when my mental health is off, well, I'm not calling it. I'm calling in. Oh, I'm not coming to work. Or I come to work because I'm not physically throwing up, but I'm living in the fog. So I can't get anything done. I'm making typos and errors that's going to cost money down the line. Yeah. All of that grief and loss. You got people their kid died, but they only get 3 bereavement days. Then they use all their vacation time. 2 weeks, and my kid died. Yeah. And then we say, oh, go to EAP and we'll give you 5 sessions. Yeah. You think that person's productive if they don't quit? Well, yeah. And if that's just that's not showing care and consideration. That's just checking the box. Okay. There you go. So what I would tell you, I mean, just real case scenario. Here's the selfish, as a business owner. Here's a selfish reason to think about it. Okay. Is what I know, what the way I got down this road is, okay, I'm the CEO of the company. I'm 57 years old. I'm a bit of a visionary. I'm a bit of an entrepreneur, but I'm smart enough to know that I don't have all the answers. And so rather than me being this visionary that's going to lead our company, I'm super impressed. You've met our team, right? We've got 23, 24 team members, and the average tenure is like 6 years, right? So people that really understand our company, and a lot of the small improvements, and major improvements, have come from what we call the floor, meaning it's not coming from the executive team. It's coming from people that are actually dealing with the customer. So far, so good. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to tap into an open source brain. So I want to use all 24 brains and on problem solving and on growth and development. It's just like having one hard drive attached to another hard drive. So instead of getting on the ego trip that I'm either going to run the company or my SLT is going to run the company and we'll dictate everything, no, let's use the creative intelligence of everybody on the company. But what inhibits creative intelligence is head trash, right? What I call head trash. Yeah. Head trash. So now hypothetically, I've got 5 super smart people in the room, right? And man, I really want what's in their brain. But man, I got one person just really having some stuff going on at home, or I got another one and they got depression. So see, I'm not getting their full brain. You follow me? Yeah. And that's what I want, right? That's what I want. So I just don't want you to put 8 hours in and check the box, man. I want your full brain. So I'm not able to get to the full brain. And you can see it. And by the way, there's people watching this video right now like, holy cow, in my own operation, I can see it. Just somebody that you know what I mean? There's just not, they're just off. They're in the fog. They're in the fog. In that mental health fog. Yeah, for sure. They're sitting there in the meeting and they're taking a note, but it's not connected. They're not there, right? So their contribution level is low, right? So I'm not getting the value that I need from that human being, or from that, because they're working on some stuff. Yeah. They don't even know, they're not starting to work on some stuff. Now, here's what happened. What we decided to do was, all right,
and you introduced us to this through your years of educating people and understanding and teaching workshops and honing your own skills. You understood that the way out of this in your mind was through education. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. The more you know about mental health, the more you're able to process and understand and embrace it. The more we normalize mental health. And what was phenomenal for me, Tim, is that you allowed that space at work. People don't do that. And people would, even if they felt like they could tell their employer they had cancer, they never want to be able to tell their employer, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
It's something with that stigma that people will like, I'm not telling my employer
But
that. They're going to fire me. They're going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to get me out. They're going to be afraid of me. They're going to think I'm coming in here to shoot the place up. Like all of this goes on. But now you have this culture where I can be ill physically or mentally and nobody's going to judge me.
Well, that's part of breaking the stigma, and that's part of breaking it that we
and
all
Stay Metrics is cutting edge in doing that. Like,
well,
that is awesome.
And we're introducing it to our carriers now because it's worked so well for us. So here's what we did. So with you, so what we did is we started with education. We invited all our team members to, not a mandatory, an optional 3.5-hour work session, and the first one you did was on what is mental health awareness.
Mental health awareness.
And here's what I'll tell you. This was so cool. And you know this, but others watching the video is. So we had the 24 in the session, and it was a very good interactive session. It wasn't threatening, but it was educational, and there was a lot of aha moments. And when I walked back to my office, it was about, noon, 1 o'clock. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I had heard from 90%. 90% of our team members had made it a point to either come seek me out, call me, and basically say that was phenomenal. That was super, super helpful. And then we started to hear anecdotal stories of people sharing that, hey, I went and got help. I was seeing a therapist. I stopped seeing a therapist, and now I am again, and I'm healthier. Hey, Marla gave a strategy. I quit. I refused to take my meds anymore, but she gave me that strategy on running. I talked to my therapist. She agreed. I'm running again, and now things are better for me. And we started to see individual relationships in the company improve.
Yeah.
We started to see people that understanding themselves better, understanding their teammates better. Now, when you add mental health to like some of our products and some of the predictive index products that we sell, that allow people to understand each other's personalities. But now you're understanding each other's personalities better than you ever have. But you have empathy, whether it's known or unknown. Hey, we're all going through stuff. You know that, right? We all got stuff. So the level of empathy and understanding goes higher, and then here's the cool thing, is now you're getting the full value, because when they speak, they're oftentimes speaking from the creative mind, and now you're getting the full value out of that team member.
Bravo. And you're getting the person. You're not getting just like this machine talking and saying what you want to hear, and you're really getting the person. And another thing that I'd add here too is that you went a step further, and we had more training during this COVID season, and because there was a shift.
Yes,
now we're working from home. Now I'm not only working from home, I got my 4 dogs on my back and my 5 kids, and I got to do homeschool, and how am I supposed to do this? Or I don't have the supplies I need to work from home, and I don't want to tell my boss, they're going to think I'm not organized, or I don't have stuff, and all these things going on. And what does that do? Stress. I'm isolated. I'm already locked in the house, all of this. And so you implemented these online Zoom sessions. Oh, hey guys, Marla's going to help us study our personalities and what stresses us out, and how we can process that and do better. And I'll testify to, I know 3 of your people saying, that's what it is. This is why I feel like this. And then 3 weeks later, I say, hey, you work those strategies? Oh my God, yeah, I'm great. I can work from home from ever now.
Same.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, how many employers need
Why
to?
wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? See, that's the piece. Why wouldn't you? If you're just looking at talent that can self-manage, then you're looking at high percentage of humanity that can't self-manage.
There you go.
But that piece that we did, I was super proud of that, and we did do that. So what we did during COVID is we brought you in on a weekly basis. What was the first 3 weeks we did weekly, right?
3 weeks.
Yeah, first 3 weeks we did weekly, and that I got to admit, the first one was awkward because people were like, I don't know what's going on. Well, the whole world didn't know what was going on, right? But as people started to share, as I remember it was Zoom because people were starting to share what they were feeling, and then you were telling them, how that related. And strategies that they could use. And then the next one, if you recall, even more sharing and reflecting on what was said the week before. So I think that our team hasn't missed a beat. 80% of our team members want to continue to work from home. We're more effective than ever.
That's awesome.
And I think a lot of that is because we got productive during this time, probably a little sooner than other companies did. Because we helped our employees understand, all the changes that were happening and how to help understand them.
And you gave them strategies for it and allowed for the errors. You allowed for the transition. Some people had to go work from home and still keep this productivity and take care of their kids and do this. And now it's COVID, everybody's laying off. I'm scared. Like if I don't perform, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to like you allowed for the errors for the.
Not only allowed it, we called them personally. And like we know, we've got a team member and he's got 2 kids. His wife works in a grocery store. He has 2 kids at home and he had 2 dogs. Now he has 3. Now I'm not judging whether the 3rd dog was a good choice during a pandemic, but this was his life, and you could see it. You could see it on those Zoom calls. He's answering, and I actually called him up. I said, "Hey, look, when you have to be a dad, you be a dad.
That's it.
And when a dog is at the door and it's got to go, you go let the dog out, and you don't feel any guilt. None.
That's it.
And if you need to get on the floor and be a dad for an hour, hour and a half, and if you feel it's in the best interest of your kids to have you right there, then you be there for your kids and your family."
Yeah.
And not only do we allow that, but we encourage that as everybody was unpacking that. Now, how did that evolve? People figured, okay, hang on, I got this figured out now. Now I got the kids at this time, so people figured it out. But while they were figuring it out, we didn't want to add to the stress.
There you go.
We wanted to actually,
That right there puts me right into the heartfelt leadership. What is that, Tim? Because I feel warm and fuzzy right now. Like talking to you, like, oh man, if I was in the workforce, I'd want him to be my boss, And so it again goes to that supporting the mental health. In May is Mental Health Awareness Month, guys. Everybody watching, listening, the awareness color is green. And we want people to be aware that health, that's right, is not just your physical health. Health is wholeness of mind and body. And so Tim and I are talking today about creating this culture of mental health awareness and acceptance within the workforce, because the more sound we are mentally and stable, it's going to help our bodies to be stable. It's going to increase productivity. And for people who could give a crap, your bottom line is you're going to be more productive, which means you'll give better outcomes, which means you'll probably be able to keep your business because you're going to keep making money. So even if you don't care about people, like, you need to care about your coins. So that being said, all of this pulls us into, you got to be the type of leader, Tim, to think at this huge macro level that I'm not managing a company and managing widgets and gadgets. I'm leading people, humans. That's a whole different thing. How do you get there? Tell me about that.
Well, I think it's individual. I think for each person, it's individual, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was always caution. So I can put my faith into a bit, you know. So how we treat one another, you know, is one of the most important, one of the most important things I think for me to consider
Okay.
as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at everything through that lens, and then people that work for my company and work for me and have chosen to take their career and their families and park them at Staymetrics,
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel an obligation to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel party to that. We hired them and I feel party to that. So, so that means that to me, once somebody joins our team, that we actually have kind of care and consideration for that person and their and maybe to an extent their family, you know, because oftentimes they're the sole breadwinner. So so that's the kind of mindset I go into it with, and then that kind of drives all the decisions after that. So things like this are like, you know, well, if I were to provide mental health training, would that help my employees be healthier and help their family life? Yeah. Then why not? Then do it. Then why not do it? You know. And then the other thing, and this is I've talked about this for a long time, is what I found out is when you do this, it makes crazy business sense. Meaning the amount of loyalty, you know, you can go ahead
Yeah.
and look at our Indeed, you know, look at our Glassdoor, and none of that is staged or orchestrated. That's just wholeheartedly how people feel working for us.
Yeah.
And what that does for you is, well, what does that mean? They stay? Yeah, they stay. First of all, before they stay, you get the best talent because this helps you on obtaining the talent side.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that type of culture, it's a rare culture, and most people are opining for it. They I mean, they really want it or pining for it. So when they see it, it's very attractive. And you know, some of the team members we have, they're like, "Holy cow, person could be working at a Fortune 500 company. Holy cow, that person could be, you know, running a research department in a university, but they're working for Staymetrics." And largely of that is because it's the culture we created. So when you do it, what I found is it allows you to tap into a higher level of talent. Higher level of talent. Your employees are more productive because they know that you care, and it's genuine. So that's what you get there. Then you say, well, does it affect your customer service? Of course it does, right? Here's a slam dunk. Of course it does. We've all heard the saying that, you know, take care of your employees, they take care of the customers. Well, that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then does it take care of your bottom line? Absolutely, it takes care of your bottom line. You know, we're sitting here in this pandemic right now, and we have not touched anybody's wages. None of our employees have either lost their job and or been asked to take a wage cut. And
Awesome.
and that's largely because of the team we've been able to build.
Wow. And also it keeps them loyal, because even if you were in a situation where you had to do that,
Yeah.
I think that because they know what you've invested in their personal lives and their personal growth and caring about them and looking out for them when sister had a surgery or
Mm-hmm.
someone died or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is when people say, the employee is able to look back and say, okay, but the employer also has some business stuff to do. And they've been this good to me, like I'm in this with them. If I
Yes.
got to take a 20%
Yes.
pay cut
Or if
and
I
I
have to
know
work.
they're going to get it back for me, or even if I got to get another job, I bet they'll help me find one. Like they
Correct.
have that.
But that's so I want to back up a little bit on what you said, because that's not why to do it though. You know,
No,
that,
not
oh,
why
right,
to do
right.
it.
Because
But it's a result. It's
it is a
reciprocal.
result.
When
But
you care for people, they're going to care for you back.
if
Typically.
you don't care, they can smell it. If you don't care, they can absolutely smell it. And you should never do it. I would tell people that you should never do it based on the fact that you're going to create loyalty.
Mm-mm.
Just do it, know it. Just do it knowing that that's most likely a byproduct you're going to get. But
Yeah.
if you start with, who is this person as an individual that has taken their family and said, hey, your company is the one that we're going to bolt onto, and we're going to provide our talent. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So when you care about them to a level that they can feel it, and you're, like you said, and you're concerned about their career, and you're willing to coach them, a lot of things we do, you're willing to coach them out of the company. I've got somebody right now. I'm giving my senior leadership team a heart attack because I'm actually helping one of probably our top 4 or 5 team member advance their career, and they'll probably leave us. And there's people wigging out because of the ability to, to replace this individual, and is this going to work or not work? But this is what we'll do, because it's about that person first, not the company.
There you go. And that's what I'm saying, is that the loyalty comes as it's just the reciprocation. Like when I do,
sure.
it comes, and your motives your motives have to always be checked. Yes. If you're doing things for the right reason, though, people know it. Like you said, they can smell the ungenuineness. You can smell that from here to high heaven. Yeah. But when I know somebody is really like, wow, this person really is for real, okay, you're going to get the benefits of that. And I don't know how to tell people listening, don't get out here and try to be a heartfelt leader with wrong motives. Oh, well, that's all I got to do is I'll do it. I don't know how to tell y'all out there that it's got to be who you are.
Yeah, people will. So there's such a. I agree with that. I don't know how you're sitting on time, but there's an authenticity that people have to feel, and they can feel the opposite of it, right? They can feel the opposite of it. So if it's in it for heartfelt leadership, really, I was asked, well, can you do that? Can you employ heartfelt leadership in any company? And I'm struggling with that one a bit, because I think at the very top, it has to be the DNA of the top leader for it to be true heartfelt leadership.
Yeah.
And the leader, his or her motives will be less about growing the enterprise to turn it or to sell it, and more about kind of the way it was about 50 years ago, more about the way it was that this organization is a good organization that is doing good, and it's employing some of our clients 5, 6, 7,000 people, and look at the good that's doing, and how do we keep doing that, right? And how do we keep providing more opportunities for our employees, and how do we grow 3,000 to 4,000? And it's not just about knocking down insanely big profits. Because you and I talked about the Kirk Douglas thing, and that was kind of an epiphany for me as well. And in terms I thought that was a waste. Oh, a waste? What's a waste? Well, he had 60 million, and the tagline was is he on the headlines, it suckered us all in. He didn't give it to his son Michael. Well, his son Michael's probably worth twice that.
Exactly.
But he gave it to charity. He gave it to charity. Why are you saying that's a wasted life? Because 60 million that could have been put to use, for that. If you go back to that company, right? So I know a lot of business leaders, and they'll tell you that everything they got, including their heart, is in that business. And that's where you're going to find a lot of heartfelt leaders. But if you're in a system that's just trying to churn out cash and spin stuff, then you can't have heartfelt leadership when the idea is that, hey, 6 or 7 of us are going to get filthy rich at the top, and the rest, I hope it works out for you.
Yeah. And that's a good, I could see why you would stew over that question. Just yesterday I had a mentoring session with one of my former VPs when I worked in a particular industry, and I asked him, I said, why was it so different when you were there as opposed to when you left? Like, how did you know when we needed certain things, or how to diffuse certain things? And like, he was this leader who probably could care less about cars. It was his career, it was his job. We worked in automotive, you know, in the Michigan area, in Detroit area, but he was the one who kept people in check with how they treated others. Because sales and marketing, big city Detroit, hey, you can get your throat slit in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I never felt that stuff. And when things would come up, he would check it. He just
really fascinating.
Oh yeah, he never had that. No. I remember when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And we had this little tiny TV in the conference room, and he said, something's going on, and he called everybody into the conference room. We went in there and we saw that second plane, and he said, turn it off, get out of here, everybody go home. We'll figure out when you come back. Go be with your kids, go be with your family. This is awful. And I'm like, I had just started there, and I'm like, he's telling us to go home right now, which I was running out of there to go get
ready.
My baby.
Yeah, right.
You
Don't have to tell you twice. Yeah.
I had to go get my baby at the time, and I'm like, and I thought, well, that's odd. He just, I mean, it's a lot of people working here. We're all just leave. Like, what happens? Do we get paid? Do we? Yeah. But I leave, and I told him about that, and he said, wow, I remember that. I said, oh, that impacted me. One of the reasons I stayed there for so long. And I really believe, had he stayed there, you know how they say people don't quit companies, they quit bosses.
Yeah.
Had he stayed there, I probably would have found a way to work my therapy career around being there, you know?
Sure.
Yeah, when he left, within a year, I was out of there too, like, goodbye. And I made really good money considering what I did.
Yeah.
Like, I made good, I don't make that much money in my last job I had. I'm talking 12, 13 years later.
Yeah.
And I just left. I'm like, I'm not staying here, because I feel like now that I know more, my heartfelt leader was gone.
That is awesome. So, you know, I appreciate that, because I don't know that I'm right on that and you're actually teaching me that no, I'm wrong, that in that idea that it has to be at the very top, right? Because in a big automotive group, whether it be whatever kind of, you know, it's a fairly sized large company, you were able to feel that heartfelt leadership in a division or a department, it sounds like.
Well, he was the VP, so he was the highest in our area. He was the VP of that whole department. But we worked it was an international company. We did, you know, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, he was the highest in that office. Even high, you know, I got that from him, and maybe not so much from my direct supervisor. I had a supervisor that I reported to. It wasn't him. But he provided so much, and the open door, and the, hey, can I ask this question? And usually, now that I think about it, Tim, I was not asking about my day-to-day job. My supervisor could tell me any of that, but I would be asking about, hey, I was in this meeting group and this guy said, you know, and I responded and blah, blah, you know, and he's like, oh, seek first to be understood, Marla. What do you know about him? I'm like, what? You know?
Yeah.
And it was that type of stuff that he would go. Now, he'd support me to the hilt. And if he had to check me later, he would. Yeah. But always, you know, well, if someone calls here about you, Marla, I'm going to ask them, well, did you talk to her? Do you know what's going on with her? Does she have an issue? Or what's the whole big picture? What's this? I've heard him yell twice. It was, always this even keel, this, when you talk to him, you lean in because he's just so
Sure.
inviting, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
and
cool.
could be disciplining you all at the same time.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
Wow.
saying, that heartfeltness was there. And so since you and I have been having these conversations, last week I called him and said, can I get on your schedule? And I met with him for about an hour and a half yesterday. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
And he's still, even though he's out of automotive, he's out leading with his heart. He's doing
Yeah.
philanthropy and, all kinds of stuff. He's fantastic.
There's a book out by Deb Bulkus titled Heartfelt Leadership, and it just recently has come out, and
Yeah.
it's we're mentioned in there a little bit, but there's some great stories, specifically. I'm listening to your story and the impact that he had in your life, and there are probably 10 or 15 stories like that. And if that at the end of the day, think of how fulfilled he felt when he got that call from you. You can look at your balance, your stock balance, or your option balance, or you can get, phone calls from people and people's families that said, hey, you gave my husband hope when he didn't have hope. You did this, and to me, that is so. And I know there's other business owners out there that do a lot of this, but to me, that's the most rewarding part of being able to own your own business, is to be able to touch lives the
That's
way you
it.
want, to touch them. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And to pour into people. I remember when, and it definitely is that particular individual who's probably not a huge percentage in the world. And that's why it's so unique when we see it. I remember one time when he was telling me, hey, Marla, you ever thought about this kind of job, and this and that? And I didn't take offense to it. I wasn't like, oh, they're going to fire me. But I find out we're kind of like the same personality too.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh no, what about it? What do you do? And he's like, oh, I know this guy in the insurance business and this and that. And, they actually need minorities. They need Black people in insurance. They need this and that. But I'm thinking about like good, solid people. You got skills, your husband, maybe that's something he might consider. And so I was like, wow, well, I didn't take offense to it. That wasn't for me. But the fact that he thought, wow, you thought enough of me, like you really think I'm a good employee. You think I'm a good person. So you would be willing to put me out here with your group of friends or colleagues. I thought that was huge.
Yeah.
Well, when I became a leader in that company and I was teaching my staff how to develop themselves and grow, and hey, you may grow within the company. It was not very likely in the positions they were in, but as you develop yourself, opportunities may come up. And what if you do this and this? Well, I was reprimanded. Like, why would you talk to somebody about leaving? I said, I wasn't talking about leaving. I'm talking to them about developing themselves. And no, I said, and plus they're not going to leave. If I'm willing to put more into you and help you, you're probably going to appreciate that and stay. And I'm like, wow, how could you have two leaders in the same company, but just these total different perspectives of something like that? And then they tell me that's what you're doing. You offer coaching and developing.
Absolutely. And the majority of our best talent is out there in the market. Either some of them competed against us for a while, but is out there in the market doing their own things, and they're regional VPs running deals now. That is really super fulfilling. Well, they're not doing it for the organization you were with. I don't know that they could have in the organization I was with. That's a lot of times that we kind of help them out. But no, I think this is awesome. From a time standpoint, are we good? Are we?
Yeah. No, we're gonna wrap up in a few minutes. I just really, am so excited about this opportunity that we could just sit and share how we communicate. You and I communicate often, but be able to put this out so that others can hear and see what it is that our two companies are doing. But as individuals, our perspectives on, you know, mental health and leadership and company culture and development, I think it's wonderful, Tim.
Okay, cool. So let's do this. So if to the listening audience, if you could, I don't know, subscribe, like, but actually, never mind subscribe or like, but comments. I'm really interested in your comments on any of these topics. So hopefully, we're going to get this out there somewhere where we can do that. And then Marla, tell people how they can reach you.
You can reach me at Marla at mentoringmoments with an S LLC.com. Marla at mentoringmomentsllc.com, or you can reach me at info at mentoringmomentsllc.com.
So for us, mine's a little bit easier. I am Tim at staymetrics.com. And if you are listening and you have a topic that you would like us to talk about next time that's related to this, or would like to learn more, shoot us an email with some questions or topics that you want us to cover. I think, you know, Marla is the best expert that I've run across in terms of mental health awareness education, and understanding it in the workplace. I think she's got unbelievable skills in that area.
Thank you.
So think of that. Heartfelt, quirky leadership, cultures that not only retain but attract. Heartfelt leader, if you think you're one of those, reach out for me. I'd love to have an exploratory conversation and learn from you as well. So,
and I'm going to piggyback here with giving some shout outs, because Tim Hindes is fantastic in this area. I have had the opportunity to work with Stay Metrics, and actually over this 6-month period really get to know some of his employees and the thought processes that they have regarding work. And it's amazing. Like, he and his SLT, that's the senior leadership team, they do a good job in making sure that the employees get what they need. But I'm going to say, from my perspective, that starts with Tim Hindes. He is the heartfelt leader. Again, conversation, as you've heard us speak here, I don't know that it's something that can be taught. I do think that if you even feel you have an inkling of this heartfelt leadership in you, but you haven't really known what it is, I know Tim can help you to develop that. So I really say call Tim at staymetrics.com.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Tim, I'm going to finish up here with, we talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Right? But ultimately, I'm ending with me because it's my birthday.
Happy birthday again.
All about me and destroying the stigma of mental health awareness, of mental health illness.
Isn't that what your shirt says?
My shirt does say that. You can't see it now. And you got humankind be both. I love it. Right? And so for those of you watching, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. The color ribbon is green. I need you to pay attention to all things mental health this month. I definitely need you to start thinking about, for you leaders out there, how do I bring this awareness to my work culture so that my employees know that I respect whatever illness they have, from diabetes to borderline personality disorder to bipolar or whatever it is, that we don't discriminate here and we want our employees to be well. I really want you to start thinking about that. We have got to destroy the stigma associated with mental health. And I am so happy that I was able to start doing that more when it comes to an industry of transportation. My family is a family of truckers. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law own a trucking company in South Bend, Indiana, and then their grandson broke off and started a company. And now, you know, we're just looking at helping in the industry wherever we can. Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome. More to come. See you next time.
That's right. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye, friends. We'll see you. Bye-bye.